Hi, YouTube. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the new bosses shown in the Under New Management playtest. This playtest was performed by Marcy and the folks at MMO Central Forums, so a big thank you to all of them uh, for letting me use the footage for showing off the new content that's coming out. Now, this video will not be going over the patch notes that they have released, patch notes pertaining to gags and facilities and department bosses, but not to these new supervisor bosses. So if you want to see that, you can check out my video from yesterday. But before we get into the bosses themselves, and I do have some notes, so it shouldn't be too unfocused. Before we get into the bosses themselves, I do want to talk about the new facility stuff, actually, because hard mode facilities are coming with new rooms. I mean, they're coming with new cog levels, so you can probably see here. Glad level 10. That's kind of crazy, right? But they're coming with new rooms. The factory actually did not have a lot of new rooms, but it does have this new room, duct storage room. This is typically where the side entrance would be, but they're actually removing the side entrance. Both of the two factories are now coming from the front entrance at the lobby. So they repurposed this room to be another restock room with, what was it, lore, and I think the other one was sound, maybe? So that's pretty interesting, but otherwise not a ton of new changes for the factory in hard mode. But, you can see here I have my timestamps, but we will look at the bosses, actually. Here is the foreman, if it goes into full screen. Here's the, straight into the cutscene. I mean, he looks great. I don't know if it's definite, but he definitely seems like an homage to the Matrix movie. That animation, fantastic. You'll be seeing it throughout the fight. His kind of wind up focus on me animation. But you can see here, his mechanics are he grants all of the cogs a defense boost. It was 25% defense, I believe. He has tenure. He has attentive is what they call it, where he unlures at the end of every turn. This fight is pretty simple. Let me see. Yeah, he has promotion. This is a obviously kind of an homage to the boiler, but this mechanic is the cog has 25% bonus damage and 50% extra damage taken, actually. So kind of like a back burner from Firestarter, and even as a fire move. So it's a little funny. Other than that, let me check my notes here. I don't think he does anything else. It's just the one buff. Build promotion. Oh, actually, yeah. There's something else that's really funny when we get a little bit further into the fight here. Whenever he takes damage for the first time. What was that? Overtime. Battle timer reduced by 15 seconds. So kind of a little like pace setter. Not especially, but you know, it's a little funny to that they have a similar mechanic. It was whenever they first attacked him, right? Which was, I believe, this turn. They attack into him, and you get to see him. Oh yeah, there it is. You get to see him do his overtime animation. He actually changes face models, which is pretty interesting. TTR is not going for the type of facial animations that Clash has, but they did a facial animation there. So, and then overtime. It's in response to the first time you hit him, I believe. Not going to be too impactful, I think. You still get 15 seconds to make a choice. And the fight is quite simple on its own. I mean, that was just 2 cakes, and he's already down to a lot. And that wasn't even with a lore boost. They go on to say he has about 280 HP. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty balanced for the part of the game it's at. It's just the factory. People are coming in here with fruit pies and not even 5 gags. 5 gag tracks, I should say. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty well-balanced fight. Got some simple buffs. Got some wackiness going on with the timer. So I think that's going to be pretty fun for the early game. It's really one of the only early game bosses, because, you know, when you get to the point of, like, mints and DA offices, that's already kind of endgame. Mints are Donald's dreamland, so you're already pretty much done with the game. Well, not done with the game. You're pretty much maxed in terms of your stats, your gag stats at that point. So when we get to the other bosses, they're going to be pretty. Even the easy version is going to be a lot harder and more geared towards endgame players. But Foreman, 280 HP, you can kill him really easily. For the the Forge entrance factory, the easy mode of the factory is going to be Forge entrance. The hard mode is going to be the Depot entrance. But anyway, we can see him die here if you want. It's just a standard death animation. You know, spins, he explodes, like cogs tend to do. And then you can see here actually the 523 merits earned. I can't say off the top of my head how merits are with TTR. I wouldn't really know merit yields that well. I don't really grind that game too much. But anyway, here's the harder version of the Foreman, the one you'll find in the Depot fight. Same opening cutscene, maybe different dialogue? No, actually I don't think it is. But you can see the cogs are much higher level 11 and 12 even, coming off of level 5s. He throws the hard hat there, and then they get a defense buff. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be wearing hard hats in the final version of this fight. But this is, you know, in testing, so not all of the effects are done. But the gameplay seems pretty final. I think with this fight, yeah, they're going to keep going for the regular cogs. Whenever they get to it where they start attacking the boss, I just tried to click on him as if I was in game. That was 2 cakes under lore, and it did about half of his health. Burnout. The hard mode of the fight has damage over time, just like the boiler, so kind of in parallel to the boiler's abilities, in a very small way, in parallel to another Cellbot boss, so that's pretty interesting. But the factory foreman has taken about half. Oh, field promotion. That's right. Oh wait, no, I already mentioned that actually. Yeah, field promotion. Not exactly like the way the boiler does it, but similar nomenclature to the boiler's signature promotion move. So again, another way it's kind of similar to the previous Cellbot boss. But the supervisor here has taken just 2 cakes and is at half health. They go on to say he has about 600 HP in the hard version, which is quite easy, honestly. You can one-shot him, actually. I think even through lore. Let me do the calculations on that real quick. Let's see. That would be 100 times 3.6 times 1.5. Oh, no, it's actually just shy of killing him through lore. But if he did something like sound and drops, that would one-shot him. You can one-shot him, you can two-shot him. Not too difficult for the difficult mode, but it is still just the Cellbot one. Those are just the factory boss. I think it's a little weird because obviously boss fights in this game are all kind of geared towards having maxed gags. The previous factory foreman was not balanced around that because factories are something that Toons do as soon as they enter Daisy Gardens. But bosses like this factory foreman, the VP itself at later stages, are kind of geared towards endgame players because there's no like level scaling. If you're playing the game, you're just going to have high stats. So I think it's a little interesting that he is kind of a little weak for considering endgame players, but he's still like of a medium difficulty. He still will take a couple turns of hard targeting big hits to kill him, to defeat the boss. But that's the foreman. Foreman, quite simple. I'm pretty interested in this one. It's at a very kind of awkward point in balance because it has to be accessible to very low level players at Daisy Gardens, you know, only the 3rd playground, but also it needs to be substantial enough for endgame players. This damage over time effect is one way they try to do it. Oh, it doesn't even have a limit, so I guess it's just damage over time constantly. 8 damage over time, you can see. It's not that bad, but it's interesting how they have to balance this fight for people who are close to but probably not fully maxed, is all. But then we can get to the next boss. That's basically all I have to say about the foreman. Unfortunately, the audio in this stream did not record very well, so I actually can't really play a lot of the audio. The foreman's battle music was pretty interesting. Not too bombastic, but it was a little sinister, actually, and it had a motif of the Suit HQ theme that went unused, actually, from Toontown Online, if you have heard of that before. Which is a pretty cool nod. It works pretty well in the fight. But anyway, we can go on to the next boss, the Cashbot Auditor. Now, it's the Auditor and not the Mint Supervisor, because these cogs are just called Supervisors. It wouldn't really make sense for the Supervisor level cog to be named Supervisor. So, yeah, it's the Auditor now. Auditor, let's load it in. Here's the cutscene. Let's go full screen for this. Every coin should be freshly shined before your shift is up. It looks like our security has been compromised. You may have gotten this far, but the market is on my side now. And you can see he's granting a couple buffs, which I'll get to. Time is money, Toons. Don't waste mine. You can see he has tenure, he has attentive, and he also has this third buff, which they're going to get into, bear market. The market is cold. Toon's defense up, but gags cost double. Defeat a cog to change. This is a very interesting mechanic. It's what I would call an actual like transformative mechanic, because the boss really needs you to interact with it to be defeated. You can defeat the boss without changing the bear market by just, targeting gags into the boss immediately. But if you do that, you're going to be eating up a lot of your high-level gags, and you're going to have trouble with these cogs, who are, even in the easy level, which this is, still decently high level, 9, 10s. And you can also see from the buffs that they might highlight eventually. If they get to it, these buffs are max HP boosts. Yeah, there it is. Max HP plus 150. I don't know if I'll be able to get to it. That's pretty big. These are really big cogs, especially for this point in the game. It's a level 9, but it has 260 HP. That's more than a level 14. This guy has 272 HP. That's more than a level 15, I think. They're pretty big cogs, and of course, his mechanic requires you to defeat a cog to really control. So, this combination of effects, very interesting. Seems like it's going to be a really fun fight. But we can get into it more. They're starting out with... Oh, and they have these buffs. This red debuff is the bear market. It's, all gags cost 2 times as much to use. We'll see what that is actually right after this turn. And the other effect was a defense buff. While the gags cost more to use, Toons get extra defense. And then when we kill a cog here, we'll see how that changes in a little bit. They're gonna kill this guy, I assume? Yeah, I think that's probably definitely enough to kill, even with all of that max HP boost. Synergy, you can see that's a pretty low amount of damage. Investment, he heals the cog, and I believe gives it attentive, which is the lore resistance of this game. Oh, he unlures it even, actually, this turn. And allows it to attack this turn, even. So, he has some pretty good interactions with his ads. Both active interactions and passive ones that they start up with. That's his kind of, one of his goofy little animations. I love the animations on these guys. They really work with their silly face models. But we can see the bear market just changed. Damage up. Toons now get a 25% damage buff, but odds also get a damage buff. Everyone has increased damage. This is going to be good for changing the bull market, but you might not necessarily want to. And you can see here, previously, the bull market buff, debuff rather, on Toons was that they used 2 of a gag slot to use that gag. This player had 3 pianos. She just used 1, and now she's down to 1 piano. So it's a resource debuff. I think that's really interesting. That's something that we don't really see a lot of in this game. Resource management is obviously a very crucial component of the game. And yeah, resource management is a component of this boss. I think that's going to be really fun to play around with. Really fun to see, like, strategies that don't involve changing the bull market and involve burning through lots of gags, but then also strategies that maybe focus on another cog first before you get big damage, drop gags into the boss itself. The boss will be dealing extra damage. Actually, all cogs will be dealing extra damage. And as you can see, the Robber Baron was unlured, and now for 2 turns will also not stay lured. So even if you lure him at the start of a turn, he'll attack. They're going to keep attacking the cogs here. I don't know that that's a really good strategy, but they did run into the problem of defeating the boss before you destroy all the cogs in this specific playtest. Crashed the game. So they're going to kill all the cogs first. But you can see that you can probably surmise that it's going to be better to maybe kill just 1 cog, get your damage boost up, and then start targeting into the Supervisor. And in fact, at the very end of the fight here, let's see, they kill this Robber Baron. Oh, he gets promoted. I'm not sure what triggers this, honestly. It didn't start happening until late into the fight, so it might be, I think it might be, he starts doing it after like 2 turns, or something like that. He promoted that cog by 1 level. That's kind of weird, right? I think that's... it's another way to have the health boost, but also a damage boost, and an evasion boost, even. So, that's just another way that this boss is interacting with his ads, who interact with his mechanic of needing to destroy a cog. They're going to kill the Robber Baron here. You can see that. Then he will do his attack, and now the market is hot. Right now, while the market is hot, with the damage buff on the tunes, they will go in for a kill here. 1 lore gag, 3 cakes, and that cleans him up. So we actually don't know how much health the easy mode version of this fight has, but it's enough that 3 cakes kills him through the damage buff. So not too much health there, but the mechanic of this fight, the bull market going between offense and resource drain and offense, really, not really offense and defense, that is going to be a very interesting thing for players to play around. I think I have some notes here, actually. I believe I went through everything. Defense, resources get pressured, but then you can get the damage boost. Cogs are tenured. I believe I mentioned that you can't remote any of the cogs and you can't fire them, which is also another way to ensure that you play around with the mechanic at its face value. You don't just fire a cog to swap the bull market. You have to really use powerful gags to kill these much higher HP cogs. We don't really know how much HP the Supervisor has, but it still seems like you could probably kill this boss by just killing 1 cog turn 1 and then focusing it into the boss turn 2, because as we saw, they killed him from full health with just lore and 3 throw gags. How accurate will that strategy be? We don't really know. But seeing as seeing as the boss does the promotion move after a certain amount of time has passed in the fight, wait. It's actually talking to me about I'm getting recommended bull market videos because of this boss, even. That's hilarious. I lost my train of thought. We don't really know how accurate that will be. We don't know any of these bosses' evasion stats, their target defense. But I think it will be really interesting to play around with just killing a cog to get the damage boost and then killing the boss that quickly. Or maybe you just focus on the boss immediately, and that's enough damage. The damage boost really isn't that much, so it's not too dangerous for the boss to have, but it's also not too effective for the player to have. That might seem like kind of a downside, but it also means that even without the damage boost, turn 1, you can probably get really good damage in on the boss if you choose to play that way. So this fight I love. There is a ton of there's various strategies that go in completely different directions because of this really interesting signature mechanic. It's great. And that's only the easy mode, actually. If we get to the hard version of the auditor from the Bullion Mint, I believe it was, we can see the cutscene. Oh, I think the dialogue actually is different for this cutscene. Looks like your security's been compromised. We can see the hard mode. No new special abilities. The factory foreman had a special ability added. He had a damage over time attack in the hard mode. This fight, for its hard mode, only buffs the various special abilities. So I believe the defense on tunes is a little lesser, but the oh wow, you can actually see it right there. The HP boost that cogs have is up to 200 instead of 100, which is pretty good because their levels are a little bit higher, but not that much. The previous fight had level 10s and a level 11, I believe. This is just 11s and 12s. But the HP boost itself, the buff, is a lot higher. That will make interacting with Bear Market harder for the hard mode, which, you know, stands to reason. I think right there they did TNT and piano, and it didn't even kill this loan shark. This guy, let's see, hard mode, it's just more HP. Promotions on lower cogs, I think that was true of the easy mode, actually. Promotions are a 2-level boost. And actually, when we get to the hot bull market, eventually we'll see... Oh, well, I kind of passed it, actually. Well, you'll see that the damage boost is actually up to 50% for both players and cogs. So that's something a little more dangerous, but it's also something a little better for players to use. I think that mechanic, that buff, will be pretty significant. I don't know how it will affect players taking damage, but they surmise at the end of this fight that the boss has... Excuse me. The hard mode auditor has 1000 HP. 1000 HP is enough for 3 drop gags to actually kill it. 3 drop gags is 612 damage, but with the 50% boost, that's 918 damage. With a storm, that's an extra 120 from the 50% boost. That's enough to kill it if he does have 1000 HP. So that could mean that if you are perfectly spec'd to have 3 tunes with drop gags, you can also kill the hard mode version of the fight in 2 turns. And you can see here his promotions are kind of going crazy. He promoted that cog by 2 levels, so I think for this fight, you'll definitely want to focus on the auditor first. Well, not first. You'll want to kill a cog to trigger the bull market change, but you will really want to focus on the auditor, and you can potentially kill him in just 1 turn. If you get lucky with your drop gag accuracy, obviously. Yeah, I think the hard mode version of the fight will kind of push you more towards killing the boss really quickly because of just how quickly he promotes other cogs. And cogs already have, you know, huge HP boosts. They'll get huge damage boosts from bull market, or huge defensive boosts from you burning through gags, also with bull market. Oh, and you can see his promotion animation there. I don't think I actually showed that off. Let's go back and watch that again. He kind of winds up a little point upwards, because that's where the stocks are going to go. Now that loan shark is level 17, even, so... Oh, find that. So you probably will not want to really tackle the other cogs before killing the boss. You might want to kill just one to work with the mechanic, the bull market, as you please. But you'll really want to kill the boss as soon as possible because the scaling he has on these other enemies is huge. Now, I love this boss. I have no notes. The foreman I was a little on the fence about, but it is a really awkward part of balancing, of progression. So I think it makes sense that he's kind of a little medium easy difficulty. But the auditor I love. You can kill him in as little as 2 turns, but there's just so much thought that goes into it. There's so much decision making you get to do because of how complicated the mechanic is. So I think this boss will be really, really fun. His animations are great. The music in this fight, man, I wish I could show you the music. The music in this fight is fantastic. Um, it is dynamic. It swaps between a more bombastic tune between the hot and cold bull market states for the fight. It has a lot of saxophone. The new Cashbot music in general is really jazzy. Actually, I might talk about the mint in a little bit. For a little bit. The mint itself got changed too, because I don't really have anything more to say about the auditor. The boss is going to be great. The flip-floppy mechanic is, I think, going to be really fun to play with, and the way he buffs other cogs is going to be a really interesting interaction with that bull market mechanic. Still quite low HP. You can one-shot him. You can kill him from full health, but it's going to be really fun, I think. Even with that low HP, I mean, it's still a pressure on your resources from the mint beforehand, from the fight's resource mechanic, but we can maybe look at some of the mint gameplay here. This is the hard mode mint, so it has level 11s. Oh yeah, I forgot. They actually only had 3 players for the hard mode mint. Someone disconnected, I believe. Some of these things are... This is really interesting, the crane game, but some of these rooms are a little more interesting. These goons are actually the hard mode goons. You can see they have the huge light cones, and they deal a little more damage, but they're just mainly harder to avoid. Crane game is going to be pretty interesting. They've been talking about that for a while, that they want to add a mechanic like a crane minigame to teach players how craning works, outside of the CFO boss itself. And I'm going to maybe let you anticipate that for a little bit as I show you some of these things. Oh, this is a room that was kind of awkward. The paint room, these platforms rotate. I think we'll see it at the start. They rotate on their own. It's really a little awkward. They were saying it was probably weird. Hopefully they get rid of it. Honestly, it's a little just awkward to look at, even. Either get rid of it or make a better camera angle for it, even. Because just seeing the rotating camera angle is, while moving, is kind of a little vertigo-inducing, is what someone said in the playtest. But for the most part, these rooms aren't that much different. You'll be seeing a lot of slightly remixed rooms throughout the mint. A lot of the rooms are slightly remixed. Oh, here's one that I wanted to show off. The gear room is a little better laid out. You now actually have to jump up the gear. There's big goons here that deal 10 damage apparently, but you have to jump up the entire gear and make a pretty big jump to get from the top of the gear to the other wall. As you might know, the gear room is kind of easy to cheese in the classic implementation. The stomper room is a little different. There's less empty spots, plus there are actually 2 side hallways, so you'll have to go through 2 rounds of optional stomperness if you want to get all the restocks and health and whatnot. But then much later on we can see the crane room, which is what I really want to show off here, which was actually before here. Well, they're playing it. Oh, this is something that I really wanted to show off. Look at this. This is gorgeous. The lasers doesn't deal damage, but they have new doors for the boss rooms. I didn't think I would be so excited about new doors, but I think it's going to be so what's the term? It's going to fit the aesthetic of each facility much better than to have the weird sliding metal doors from the factory. These lasers look pretty good on their own, but just as an element of the mint is going to be really interesting. And then here you can see the crane game. Pretty simple, you just grab a safe, throw it on the button. Not exactly CFO level of difficulty, but it's really cool. It's, thematically, it's just really interesting to have something like this in the facility, but it's also good for teaching players how this mechanic works. And it seems like it's on a timer even. But yeah, they get through that, go through the now deactivated laser door, and that's where the boss appears. Yeah, the mitts are getting some pretty fresh new rooms, as well as, of course, the fantastic new auditor boss fight. But that's basically all I have to say about the Cashbot part of this change, part of this update, which can take us to the Lawbot portion. The clerk, and then we'll get to the club president eventually. Obviously, they are not new in the sense that we've seen them previously in the Toonfest. But you're going to see that these bosses have a lot of new details to them, including a new opening cutscene. All of the supervisors are getting one. I think this is really funny. She's staring at a painting of herself. That's hilarious. The painting looks really good. It looks exactly as gross as all the rest of the, Toontown Online COG paintings. So it really fits the aesthetic. Um, oh, I didn't speak her lines, but you can read them. She has her opening cutscene. Her cogs just come in and join her. She has the same tenure and attentive silence, which more directly describes how you'll receive 25% of sound damage if you use sound gags. A lot more explicit than the previous way they described it as just you have a feeling you'll get retaliated against. And this buff, they'll show later, is she can summon Skeletogs, virtual Skeletogs even, if other Cogs are destroyed in the fight. So this fight is kind of a big step up from the easy mode auditor. These sound gags are hitting her. You can see it does not deal that much damage. The cogs she's accompanied by are pretty high level 11s. But, objection, the clerk motions for gag damage. That's a mechanic she had previously. I should actually check out my notes here. Oh, they say at the end of the fight that she had about 11,020 HP. So quite a big step up from the auditor who died to 3 cakes and a lore. That's not even 500 damage, and she has seemingly more than double that. She's a pretty big step up. She has a lot of HP, but she also, punishes you for using sound gags. She punishes you for, she just punishes you for using sound gags. She punishes you for killing other cogs by just spawning in more virtual Skeletogs, which we'll probably see eventually. Objection, if you didn't see before, is you have to do direct damage with sound, throw, squirt, or drop, or you'll face retaliation. We'll see what that is in just a second, because I think they actually do get retaliated. Yeah, that player's using a lore gag. Trap is not one of the viable, allowed gags. And we can see they already used a Unite, even. And they are focusing pretty heavily on the other cogs, but they are going to use some throw gags into the Supervisor. 2 throw gags on a lure, and we'll see it will not really do all that much damage. It only puts her down to orange, and she was already, a little chipped. Yeah, she's even above half health, so she has a lot of HP. Book smarts, she educates a random cog with, that was a damage boost, a little bit of healing, and attentive. So, a little bit of, kind of generic buffs, but a lot of them. She does that to, I believe, 1 cog every other turn. And then the cog unlures and gets to attack on the same turn. The objection mechanic we'll get into a little bit when we see what happens when you don't work with it. Oh, I believe that cog just attacked twice. Is that true? Jargon. Evil Eye. Huh. I guess he gets an extra attack. It doesn't really describe it. There is a buff icon for extra attacks. We'll see with the club president fight. Spoiler. But, yeah, he just attacked twice. I don't know if that was intentional. But we can see she just retaliated against these 2 players, player 1 and player 3, for not using a damage-dealing gag. Or not using a direct damage-dealing gag that turn. They can't use throw gags now. They get a gag ban for 3 turns. It's a little interesting. That's basically all this fight is. It's just sound retaliation, buffs, summons cogs, and use direct damage with objection. This fight is a little underbaked, I kind of feel like, because I mean, in this playtest, we'll see that the players are killing the other cogs because of a glitch. Because if you don't kill the other cogs first, the game crashes. Assuming that they're not going to incorporate that into the final product, into the actual update that is available to players sometime in June or something, then I'm gonna say that this fight is really straightforward. All you really do is target the boss until she dies. What I loved so much about the auditor is that his mechanic really wanted you to interact with other cogs in the fight. The clerk here, her mechanics are all about, if you use sound gags to hit a bunch of cogs, you get punished. If you kill other cogs, I just spawn more, so you get punished. So it's kind of backwards, in a sense. And it makes it so that the really signature mechanic of this fight, objection, you have to use throw, sound, squirt, drop, is really not that impactful, because what else were you going to do in a fight where you're basically only targeting one cog? I don't see that mechanic really changing anything too much. I mean, it will prevent you from healing, but if you get it turn 2, that's not going to be a huge issue. She doesn't really deal all that much damage. The really big thing to note is that you can kind of kill... I think you can kill this boss in 2 turns. Let's see. She had, what did I say, 1120 HP. If you get lore and 3 throw gags, that's 70 times 3 plus 170 times 3.6. Yeah, you can kill her in 2 turns with lore and 3 cakes, and then squirt and 3 drops. Or even another lore and 3 cakes would kill her. So you don't even need drop gags to be able to kill her in 2 turns. That is, I think, a little too easy. I think they might need to tweak her HP values or tweak her interactions with other cogs. She unlures 1 cog per turn. Actually, I think it was 1 cog every other turn, even. So she really doesn't punish you that much for ignoring her other cogs, while also really rewarding you for just hitting her straight up. So I think the mechanics in this fight are a little out of sorts. She's not as flamboyant. She's not as expressive and cartoonish as the previous bosses, so that's kind of something that's a little unfortunate. They had really funny animations. She still has kind of just rigid cog animations. And like I said, the fight itself, very straightforward. You just hit the boss. So I'd like to see that changed, maybe, as far as the easy clerk goes. As for the hard clerk, it's to cut to the chase, exactly the same. She has 1500 HP, 1500 HP. And let me see what I say here. Hard mode. That's actually the only thing I put, 1500 HP. I don't know what else she does. And it doesn't really matter what else she does. I mean, she summons some decently high level cogs, level 13s and a level 12. But still, it's basically the exact same fight. She unlures 1 cog every other turn, but you're still just going to keep attacking her until she dies. You're not really going to do anything else besides just use basic attacks on the cog. Besides healing. But I don't think she even does that much damage. If you're not getting the sound retaliation, she is not doing all that much damage. And then, you see they got the lore bonus here to ensure the turn 1 lore. She has 1500 HP, and again, 1100 HP. She's not pace setter. 1100 HP was enough to kill her in 2 turns. On the easy mode, 1500 is enough to kill her in 3 turns, and if you kill her in 3 turns, she only gets to do the book smart move on 1 cog, because she dies before she would be allowed to do it on turn 3. Yeah, I think the hard mode for this fight is also a little underbaked. Let me full screen this. No reason not to. I think the hard mode for this fight is also a little underbaked, I'm gonna be honest. You just kind of hit the boss. She encourages you to do nothing but hit the boss, and, I guess I should have said this before. Boss fights in Toontown, the Toontown combat system is really geared towards dealing with groups of cogs, obviously. That's all we've had for the past 20 years. When you make a boss like this, that is not interacting with groups of cogs, you're losing out on so much that the combat system has to offer. It goes from sound combos and lore and trap to just click attacks onto one target. You know, it boils it down to basically as simple as it gets in Toontown Central, with just other cogs deal damage occasionally. Yeah, I don't know. I think they could 29 damage, really not too much for a hard mode fight. For a hard mode fight, 29 is not that much. Because you'll probably have at least 100 left at this point. There's only like a third of your HP to one player. Oh, but she did do the Book Smart move again this turn, so I guess 2 cogs would unlore potentially. Unless I missed something. Missed how many turns had passed. But at any rate, I think this fight is going to be a little too simple as it is, so if I could click that feedback button, I would say give her something else to do with her other cogs. She has so much going for her that discourages you from destroying the other cogs. Give her something that encourages you to do it, or punishes you for not doing it. Again, Auditor was such a great fight because he really encourages you to kill other cogs, but also you want to kill him as soon as possible because he will just keep buffing and buffing and buffing other cogs. It's contrasting opposing forces between the boss and the rest of the cogs around them. But not so much for the clerk fight. It's just hit her, don't hit them. You know. So hopefully they change that. The DA office itself, actually, oh, you know, I didn't get to see too much of how this changed. What is going on here? This room looks quite a bit different. There's some verticality to it. A lot of these objects you can jump on now, just for fun, like a lot of these filing cabinets, a lot of these Lawbot insignia boxes. Here's a room with cogs in it. There are some new pure combat rooms, which I think is a really nice change, that they just added in rooms that are nothing but... They don't have new challenges, they just look different and you get to fight cogs in them. That plant in the background actually looks quite a bit different. Even. You can see the cog levels here going up to level 11. But this room looks completely new. It's just a room with a bunch of cogs you fight. Hiding in a plant. Looks like they've got some platforming, even, for finding secret gag restocks. So I think this could be pretty fun. But I don't think there was too much changed. I didn't see where the laser puzzles go with the law offices, actually. Let's see if I can find the laser puzzle room. Oh, well, there's one, but... Let me see. Was this before the... Is this even the hard mode of the fight? Of the 25? Yeah, this is the hard mode. Oh. That's funny. They have little skulls for the match 3. Match 3 is kind of a waste of time. It's really not challenging at all, but now it's funny because it's actually kind of a little puzzle. You have to move around in the right way to not touch those skulls, I guess. And then the other one is... Oh, that was still the match 3. Oh, we can see the other one. So the laser puzzles look like they'll have a little more spice to them, a little more difficulty, maybe. That one's just dodge the skulls, I think. I don't know if it was going a little faster, cycling between board states. Spotlights seem like they're doing a little more damage. But yeah, I think not too much has changed with the DA offices, honestly. Besides, I'm going to skip off that. Besides some of the funny little things you can walk on and step on. DA offices, I love them. Visually, they're the most distinct of any cog location in the game, so I think they're great in that sense. And yeah, it is going to be really cool to see what they add to the facility, and hopefully what they add to the boss herself, because like I said, really a little too simple. But anyway, that was that. This is this. We got the club president, the final supervisor boss, accompanied by a few 2.0s. She flies in, all Karen-like. If you don't leave the premises by the count of 5, you can see him get that debuff there. You regret entering this country club. My country club. Oh, you can see her there. Delayed damage. Take 30 damage when this effect expires. That is a little low, honestly. As you'll see, this fight is not that long. So, punishing the player for lasting 5 whole turns in a fight that is this short is a little weird, maybe. Because the easy mode of this fight has about 1,200 HP. Not that much more than the clerk, even. And this boss doesn't really do anything with its other cogs either. I don't believe. I mean, they have reinforced plating. Oh, wait. You know, it just occurred to me. I should look at what that reinforced plating text says. Because it was something I mentioned in the last video, if you didn't see it. I'm a little bummed that they're getting rid of the defense mechanic for reinforced plating, and this kind of seems to confirm it, actually. All it says is that the cog will turn into a skelecog. Which is a little lame. Man, they really are getting rid of the defense mechanic. But I've already talked about that in the last video. If you want to hear more of me complaining about the state of Toontown, you can watch that. But we're talking about the boss now. Regardless of 2.0s or regular cogs, this fight is going to be pretty straightforward. But they did add a really interesting new mechanic. As soon as this turn expires, we'll be able to see it. They get big sound damage in, kill all these regular cogs, but not really doing all that much to the boss herself. Again, 1,200 HP. She's pretty decently tanky. But Sand Trapped is the really big thing here. Blocks your last chosen gag. You get a... It says 2 turns there, but that's kind of just a behind-the-scenes thing. It's really only for 1 turn. You have whatever gag track you selected is banned. And Penalty Stroke, anytime a cog is destroyed, she gets an extra attack permanently. That was in the Toonfest version of this fight, so that's not exactly new. It is something that I'll have to criticize a bit in a second here. We can see these Skelecogs attacking, not really doing all that much damage. But yeah, all these players used sound, and now they can't use sound gags because that's what they used last turn. This is a mechanic, this is a special ability the club president will use every single turn. So you will never be able to spam gags in this fight. We'll see Trap, Lord, Squirt, Trap. And then for the next turn, they will not be able to use Trap gags. These players won't be able to use Trap. The one player use Squirt, can't use Squirt, etc. This also means they did get rid of the throw and squirt retaliation mechanic, which I think is a very good change. I thought that was a really silly thing for the original fight to have, and now it doesn't have it. She'll perform +1 attack for each cog destroyed, which means now she has 3 attacks of this bunker shot move, and the damage for this attack actually increases on each use, I believe. 13... Yeah, +5, +6. So that attack, not only is it giving her more attacks, it's giving her stronger and stronger attacks for each cog you destroy, which means that, a lot like the clerk, you just want to focus on the boss herself. I think that's really lame. I said it with the clerk, this just turns the fight into a 1-cog fight. You just use a lore gag turn 1, and then fight the singular entity. And that's boring. Frankly. So I hope they add a little bit something to this fight, because once you get past that, I mean, she's alone right now, which is what she basically was before, because you're not going to target any of the other cogs. All you really do is alternate using, like, lure and throw, squirt and drop, tune up, you know, you just alternate hitting her. Ideally not killing her other cogs and triggering this bunker shot mechanic. But it's just so weird that the harder fights encourage you to target other cogs less. I mean, it's like narrowing the complexity of the fight. If you think of a fight where you might want to target all 4 cogs, there's so many combinations of things you can do. There's 4 entities, 4 choices you can make, and in this fight there's only really 1 choice you can make, and it's hit her. We'll see her continue to get hit, continue to take damage. I believe they kill her this turn. Presidential protection, just like you might have seen at Toonfest. When she is destroyed, she summons some extra cogs. For the easy mode, they're just going to be level 11s, not 2.0s or anything. Untargetable. She's not a 2.0 anymore, for one thing. It was a 2.0 in the Toonfest version, which she wasn't really a 2.0. She didn't have a Skelecog phase. It was just 2.0 in name only. But now she's not, which makes more sense. What we can see here, they've got the extra cogs they have to fight to finish out the fight. Missed the lure. And then... Oh, I missed it actually. Swing oil. We can see right here, when a cog is undamaged, it gets healed. And I believe it is just healed. So she becomes a healer for this phase. If you can't kill the cog immediately, she'll start healing them. Which shouldn't be too big of an issue, because I feel like destroying other cogs should be... Oh, wait, we just saw Blood the Market. Okay, that's a new big cheese move. I didn't even recognize that. And I believe, actually, we did see from the Corporate Raider a new move, Hostile Takeover. Yeah. Not the animations, but new moves, 18 damage AoE from a boss bot, is pretty substantial, a pretty big buff. But for this phase, you're just fighting regular cogs, and the club president is just healing them. So I think, with all that in mind, I could say that this fight is pretty lame. Again, a lot like the clerk, it is just a fight where you hit gags into the boss herself, because you get severely punished for doing anything else. You're not going to kill the other cogs, so it becomes a fight where you just fight 1 cog, lure the other ones, and just use gags into her. The sand trap mechanic is really interesting, I think, because it will ask you to diversify your game plan of how you take on 1 single cog. But it's still just taking on 1 single cog, so I think it's a little... It's not enough to make this fight more strategically interesting. Still, I think the Auditor is probably the best boss we've seen so far, in terms of gameplay. And in terms of graphics, that fight, that dude looked awesome. But President, I mean, what's she do? She's just playing golf. And her fight kind of sucks. So, that's the easy mode Club President. The hard mode Club President, we can see these cogs level 12 2.0. This one is a level 13 2.0, the one that was just speaking. Level 13 2.0. That's a pretty big cog. They're all big cheeses, obviously. Well, not obviously. I guess they don't have to be, actually. But in this instance of the fight, I believe these players will not go for any of the other cogs and just go straight for the boss. And it becomes really straightforward. Oh, well, the lore gag missed, so that's one thing that maybe makes the fight a little bit harder. If your gags miss, obviously that's not good, but assuming your lore gag hits, you're just going to be dealing with 1 cog and not really doing much else. Yeah, for this version of... I can't remember if I said that. She has 1,575 HP, or something about that level. Her 5-turn attack is 50 damage instead of 30, and for players who are doing high-level golf course raids, I feel like 50 damage isn't really that much, but again, you're probably not going to trigger it. Oh, and that's something I guess I forgot to mention. Her, delayed damage attack only activates if she's alive. If you kill her before this turn timer counts down, she doesn't do the attack. So that's another thing that just pushes you to only focus on the boss and not anything else. Again, I don't really understand what what they're going for here. When you make these mechanics that are get punished if you let the boss live for too long, and get punished if you hit things that aren't the boss, you're just really forcing players into one mode of gameplay, which is just hit gags on boss. Again, I think it's a little lame, a little too simple for a boss fight that you're going to have to replay like 2-3 times just to get to another CEO. The sand trap is a little interesting, especially if your gags miss. It might be a little interesting to see how you have to mix up your gameplay even when you're not getting your like tune-up gags or your drop gags hitting. But other than the chance for things missing, there's not a lot of variety in this fight. We will see eventually, whenever she dies, which is going to be in a little bit, they get her on just a sliver here, actually, which was pretty funny. Whenever she dies, she'll go into her presidential protection mode, which is right now. You see she has the untargetable debuff. And, oh, they're going for Toontown. They have all the same cogs here, including the 2.0 cogs. The big, beefy level 12s, level 13s. They go for that, have to fight the 2.0 forms, do their attacks, and then she summons an extra cog, even. So, that's one funny little interaction with Presidential Protection. It summons 3 cogs, including whoever was in the fight when it started. So if you don't kill the other cogs, you do have to kill them on this phase, but that's not really an issue. If anything, that's kind of how you want to play the game. You want to wait until the boss isn't attacking you and isn't, forcing you to play in a certain way with her delayed damage mechanic to start focusing on the other cogs. So, I think there's a lot of complexity in this fight, but it's not... There's a lot of mechanics in this fight, I can say. There's a lot of mechanics, but there's not a lot of complexity. That's the weird part. Yeah. There's 2 more cogs that she has to fight, or that the players have to fight. Level 13, she's spawning on the hard mode. There's a lot of mechanics. There's a lot of, like, sand trap and, cogs getting... or she gets buffs when cogs die. But the actual gameplay route of this fight is going to be extremely linear. Just hit the boss, hit the cogs. Hopefully, I really hope they change that. I mean, I don't know, maybe it would be annoying if the boss was too complicated. For a golf course, it could be. But I really do hope they make this boss a little more interesting, at least a little more varied. I would love a boss that has more ways to play it than just one. Because obviously this is an MMO. We're going to be playing these bosses a ton of times. We're going to be fighting these supervisors like 10 times for each cog suit that we're trying to level up. I would want each of those 10 times to be at least a little different. But really the only variety for the club president and the office clerk, the 2, hardest endgameist supervisors that you're going to be fighting probably the most for the most taxing merit grinds, they have some of the least variety. Auditor has some of the most variety, and you're going to be tackling that very early on. So, yeah, it's a little weird. But that's the club president. I believe this is her dying. Oh, and I guess I can show off her death animation, her tantrum. She gets really mad. She's going to tell the CEO about you. And then she will, not to spoil anything, she will die. She will jump up and explode and just get destroyed. Which is actually, I think, the only unique death animation for these supervisors, which is kind of an interesting quirk of that fight, I guess. A little characterization of that boss. But as for the mechanics, I think they are quite underbaked for that fight. Quite underbaked for the clerk, foreman, auditor. Foreman is a little underbaked, but it comes early on, right? So I can't complain about the early game boss being easy and straightforward. But the auditor is so interesting. The clerk is not, and the club president is even less interesting than the clerk. The club president does nothing with her ads, actually. The clerk at least, unlures other cogs in the fight. The club president, she does nothing. You just kind of hit her, and then you have to kill the other cogs. So I'm gonna say that, yeah, I think these 2 bosses, even the ones that we've seen in development for longer than the first 2, could use maybe a little more time of development to make these boss fights really spectacular, really fun, and varied. Especially varied. We really need variety for these, long facility grinds. But anyway, coming off of that, you know, somewhat bummer of a boss fight. Oh yeah, this is something that they added. The golf minigame does not give you... It does not restock your gags anymore. Alright, hello again. A little interruption there, but anyway. These, gang barrels. Right, that's what I was talking about. If you see here, you don't get gags from the golf minigame anymore. You get them from these gag barrels, which is great because it is a little more player choice. If you don't want to take bad gags, if you don't want to get forced to take bad gags from the golf minigame, now you don't have to. Now you can get them from gag barrels if you choose. Also, this is really nice. This transparent, grate, portcullis, maybe you might call it, really fits the gothic architecture of the Bossbot HQ. And again, it's another really good door. The factory door was so out of place for the Bossbot facility, for the Bossbot headquarters. And now we don't have it. Now we have this. This is great. And it even lets you see to the next area, which means they probably had to change how areas load in for the golf courses. Anyway, we've got the golf minigame itself, and I believe these are a little different now. Some of these might be new. Yeah, I mean, they're saying these people made some of these new things. I mean, this one looks familiar. You know what? My girlfriend's gonna be, she hasn't actually played a golf course yet. We're still only at the Lawbot section, so this is kind of a spoiler for her. But yeah, we can see, these all look familiar, I would say. Classic, golf gameplay. Yada yada. That one's familiar, that one's familiar. Huh. Well, I guess we didn't get any new ones there. This is the hard mode. Wait. Is this even the hard mode? Oh no. That would be terrible if I, No, okay, this is the hard mode golf course. But I guess just not anything new there. I think there are going to be some new golf puzzles there. And, that's one of the highlights of the golf course, obviously. Better than the maze game, which I believe they did. They might have added new mazes. Here's a double maze. Oh, no. Not a double maze. This is the entrance to the maze. But it seems like the same layout as classic mazes, I would say. I don't know, honestly. I mean, maybe I'd have to go through. It seems like the exact same layout, but maybe different obstacles. But still just one maze. And then I believe the mole stomp minigame was a little bit different. That's the itself. The mole stomp minigame, I believe, summoned more, popped up more like friendly. Don't stomp on these moles. Somewhere. Oh wait, there it was. So con golf courses, honestly, not getting too much changed. Yeah, these friendly moles are popping up frequently and staying for quite a while. So, I guess making this a little bit harder, if you can call it that. It's just mole stomp. Man, I don't know. So yeah, I guess I don't think golf courses are really getting that much new in terms of rooms. Because they really just have mazes, mole stomp, golf minigame. The golf minigame is... I haven't gotten to see any new puzzles, but they seem to be implying, the players here seem to be implying that there are new ones. The mole stomp seems a little more difficult, but it's just mole stomp, so it's not really going to be that hard. And, man, the maze even looks the same. So, not too much love, potentially, for golf courses. The new grate doorway I really love, but the golf courses themselves, the rooms aren't that good, and the boss doesn't seem like it's going to be that good. The rooms aren't that different, I should say. Uh, but I don't think anyone would say that the classic golf course rooms are that good. Wait, actually, no, this is the hard club president. This is just a really easy fight for some reason. These are only level 10s. Wait, is this not the hard one? How is that possible? Maybe they don't. Maybe they just didn't change it that much. Yeah, I guess not even the fights are different for the hard mode one. Oh, that's peculiar. I'd have to see more about that. But yeah, the golf course rooms are not really getting too much different, and the boss looks like kind of the worst of the bunch here, if I'm gonna be honest. So, hopefully they do more with the golf courses. Obviously, kind of a sticking point for Toontown Online as a whole is the boss bot headquarters. So, if anywhere needed the most love, it would be this place. I can only hope that they do. But anyway, that's been me, Retro Beanie. Rambling for like almost an hour at this point. Actually, I can't see how long it was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to these new bosses. Really looking forward to that auditor. Really looking forward to the foreman. Looking forward to the clerk and the club president even. Yeah, I can't wait. If you have anything you want to say about these new bosses, you want to tell me your opinions. Maybe you love the club president. I obviously didn't like her that much, but maybe you absolutely love the club president, and yeah, you should definitely let me know in the comments. But anyways, that's all from me. That's all from Under New Management so far, until we get some of the new information about that new, what was it, Clear Coasts playground. I'll definitely do a video about that when it comes out. But that is all from me for today, so, Tunes of the World, remember to ride facilities a lot. Because they're going to be a lot more fun. I can promise you that.